Hey guys, welcome to another podcast. I have an awesome guest here once again today, and it's Chris Reeve. And Chris, I'm not going to say about what you do. I want you to tell the guys what you do and who Chris Reeve is.
You're making me nervous. It's a bit of a big intro there.
You're a bit of a celebrity around these parts.
Hyped me up, Ollie.
Yeah.
You've hyped me up. Well, yeah, my name is Chris Reeve. I've got the same name as Superman, but don't worry, I've not brought my cloak with me today. I run a social media agency called Reeve Social Media, which I started just over 2 years ago, but I've been in social media marketing forever. For my sins, I'm a big Norwich City supporter, so if anyone is an Ipswich fan that follows your content, then I do apologise in advance. It's not going to be an easy watch or listen for them. I'm an ambassador for Big C, which is a local cancer charity who I've raised over 30, I think we're coming up to £32,000 now. So yeah, fundraise. I love to travel. I love people. I love this sort of thing. Energy exchange. I enjoy helping people in any way, shape, or form. Which is I guess what connected me with social media, because it's just such an incredible tool for helping people.
So, did you go straight in with Reeve Social Media? Or did you have a backstory before then?
Oh yeah, I've got a backstory before then, of course. So I mean, I guess my X Factor sob story is in 2007 when I was 14. My mum died of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma cancer, which I know that you and I've chatted about before. And for probably about 3 years, I was a mess. I was really struggling to compute that. So that took me up to 14, 15, 16. So 17, it took me 3 years. And then I was so blessed to have been introduced to self-psychology, specifically a guy called Gavin Drake at a company called Mindspan, who deliver all sorts of self-psychology stuff across the country with big organizations, and started to learn about the brain, the way it functions, which I know that you're super knowledgeable of, and that was just so incredible. So then it this grief that I'd experienced of the loss of my mum then became the fuel to my fire, as I like to say, and it meant that I took more risks, I asked more questions, I was more bullish, I was less scared, and I've just really made it really clear that for me now it's like gratitude, perspective, and mortality, meaning that I'm just so aware of time and how little we've got of it. And so that's why I'm so passionate about having fun, helping people, and just living life to the full.
So what is the key for social media to getting your message out?
That's a good question. So I've been in social media now for must be 12, maybe even coming to 13 years, because I was even doing it as a side hustle, right? And so I've really seen it evolve, and all these different platforms, and obviously new platforms. Threads is now a thing, for example, literally a few days ago. And it's developed how you capture attention on social media. The best way to capture that at the moment is video. You've got to be creating video content. I know that you're a big believer in that. That's really, really important. But for me, I think a real good baseline filter to put all your content through, if you're writing it, is attention, engage, value. So when I'm creating any sort of content, have I got an attention grabbing headline? Engage means, am I asking a question that basically presents the viewer with a knot that they need to tie up? And then if you answer a question that's open-ended, they're going to read below and just give them the value. I'm a bit different to some in the sense of, as a marketer, I quite like to just honestly give, and I don't necessarily pull people through a funnel or a lead thing or anything like that. I just simply say that social media is all about speeding up the process between prospect and customer, or prospect and client. And so the best way to do, you've got to grab attention. And if you don't ask a question, you can't expect engagement. And if you don't give value, if you're not serving and not selling as a good mindset as well, then you're not going to get anywhere. So that's probably a good baseline I'd suggest to your viewers.
Say actually the giving part. We first met, I mean, I'd seen you on Talk Norwich City, and I think our paths have crossed occasionally. Norwich, like, small enough, right? We first met, it was a group during lockdown, wasn't it? We had like a support group for Guys Bro Society. We met there, and I've just got a bit of wood in my foot. 100-year-old house, that's what happens. We met there, and I said it'd be good to get some support for social media. And that was probably 21. I think we'd just had the first lockdown, something like that. And we're allowed to meet as a group for social support, for support, basically, mental health side of things. And it wasn't the right time to work together social media wise, but I think you gave me some tips as to what to post. So it was then, when we look at giving, I'm similar with health stuff, that I want to help people, right? So if they're not ready to be able to invest, just give. And then when they are ready.
So good.
Like, you've been helping me with about a year now, the socials, right? I think it was last August or September.
Is it?
Yeah, it was around that time. Yeah, because it was when I went to Colombia. So that was this time next week. I think we met up just before and started then. So take me through this process, actually, because you've used my social media. Like, when you get someone, what you look for. If anyone's looking for social media side of things, like, say what you've done with my side of things. And
well, I just wanted to quickly go back 2 steps, actually, to your point there about giving, just very, really quickly. I think people are I'm really passionate about this. People are so short-sighted, and they're so, like, grabby. And I had, like, this great moment this week, for example, where someone I'd just given to about 2.5, maybe even 3 years ago. And I say given, like, I've just given them some free tips and tricks, right? And they've remembered me, and they've connected with me on social media, and they've not spoken to me at all. But then they knocked on my door and they said, "Right, I'm ready to go now, Chris." And I just think it's such an incredibly powerful thing, you know. The world of the generous gets larger and larger is a good phrase that you'll align with, because it's very much a soul church thing, a John Norman special, and so I wanted to speak about that. But in terms of what I've done with your socials, Ollie, I think you are a classic entrepreneur in the sense of
hopefully that's a good thing.
Know your shit. You are so knowledgeable. Your knowledge is literally bursting out of your brain. And actually, my job really has been quite easy in the sense of I just need to really just make sure that you stick to certain subjects on certain days to make sure everything's aligned and we're not neglecting any area of your service or potential or clientele. And I'm blessed that you're really up on video as well, right? So, making sure that we're sharing that video content consistently, making sure that we're posting at key times for your audience, because another classic mistake is people post on their time and not their audience's time. So making sure that, we're not posting between those hours of 9 to 5. We're not posting at lunchtimes or on the hour and a half now, because that's where meetings are. I could go on forever. And
didn't know that bit, actually.
I could geek you right up here. Yeah, you shouldn't post on the hour or on the half hour, especially during the day, because that's when meetings start and finish, right?
Yeah, good point.
It's just one of those tiny little things that you can.
So would you say just before, like a 25 past, if a
just
meeting's
before or
finished
just
early?
after? But the thing is, Ollie, it's like very much a case of facts don't care about feelings.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to test all the time, and to be honest with you, there's so many variables with social. There's a bit of luck involved as well, which is why I'm so passionate about saying, like, keep consistently turning up every day, and don't worry or obsess about creating this 10 out of 10 piece of content, because it doesn't exist. You need to make sure you've got an agile mindset with it, and just make sure you're fine tuning your times, your content, your copy, all of that stuff, even your platforms.
Yeah.
Be fine tuning it all the time, and you'll be successful.
It's something where the consistency side of things I've noticed a lot more, because when we first started, you said about don't get involved too much in vanity metrics. Talking about likes, especially for what I do and the clientele I work with, the C-level execs, like, they're the people that don't necessarily want people to know about their health. And even on LinkedIn, literally you like something, it seems so much easier to see than on Instagram, right? And like you came to me and were saying, like, don't get involved in that, don't get involved in that. Last week, someone was signing up. I nearly lost him saying I was a Man United fan and he's got a box at Leeds. Ooh. I said, I'm a Man United fan, I'm a Norwich season ticket holder, and it was the day that Farker got confirmed there. So we had some talking points.
Okay.
But he still wanted to sign up. But he'd come on a campaign last year in April time and only now contacted me. So if anyone's there looking at social media, yes, likes are great, shares and all this sort of stuff. But I think you never know who's watching, right? Like, who's going behind the scenes?
100%. Like, people are so aware more than ever before of leaving a digital footprint. People aren't stupid. Social's evolved from where it was so much, to the degree that, as you say, LinkedIn's a classic example. If you like something or comment on it, your network will see that. And so people are becoming more aware of that, leaving a digital footprint. So that's a good message, Ollie. If people are out there posting content, don't get disheartened. Looking at impressions is quite a good one. Yeah. It means different things on different platforms.
Like where people have seen it? Is that
how many people have seen it?
Okay,
that's quite cool. But what doesn't matter seriously is likes. Like, fuck likes.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm saying it now, because literally on every single platform, it's so far down in terms of its cog of metric. Meaning, that sounds really geeky. Like, a comment is so much more worthwhile than a like, or a reaction or anything like that, right? So if anything, value comments, value how many people you reach, but get likes out of your head and also get followers out of your head, right? Because I've seen countless people, I mean, some of our clients are the same. All it takes is one piece of viral content and you're off to the races, and you can win so much business off the back of it. So it really isn't about followers and definitely not about vanity metrics.
Yeah, I can appreciate that a lot. Let's touch on your leadership side of things, and I want to go to the Talk Norwich City podcast here. Okay. So you've got it's probably like the unofficial official Norwich City podcast. Would you not agree with that?
I don't know. I don't know how the club want to. I don't know.
Yeah, but is there an official one?
There's not an official one.
Yeah.
There used to be an official one, but I think they stopped it.
They don't need to because you're there.
It's the biggest Norwich City fan channel and the original one as well.
So when did this start?
Well, my my best mate, who's got the same surname as me, Reeve, Jack Reeve, he started it in his bedroom, and I'm going to say yonks because I can't remember the amount of years, but it was that long ago. He started in his bedroom, and it was just a bit of a freaky sort of stars aligning occurrence, really, because I like media. I obviously like talking about football, and I actually went up to him for an interview after the game outside the ground, and we'd got, Pally. Unfortunately, his dad died, and we just sort of became brothers in our grief, really, and. And just ever since then, we've been inseparable, sadly for him. And we've built this beast that is Talk Norwich City. So we have the pleasure of interviewing, current Norwich players, ex-Norwich players, journalists, people, staff, all sorts of people. And it's been a real it's been an incredible vehicle for us both because it's unlocked so many opportunities. And to be fair, to make it about your viewers, Ollie, that's quite a cool thing to do. I was reading a book about this the other day. It was something like Unreasonable Success and How to Achieve It by Richard, I'm going to say Koch, and it's Koch, I think. Or I don't know. Anyway, you'll find it somewhere.
Something like that.
You can link it somewhere. Yep. Anyway, one of the things is, in so many people's lives, they all go through what's called a pull vehicle moment, where they create something that drags them into whatever it is that they're meant to be. And that's very much been the case for Jack and I. He's got a successful career now in journalism and media. And obviously I've managed to grow a business and an agency, and obviously have fun with speaking to footballers all the time. Yeah.
And one of the things that is I respect about you is that you're so appreciative of their privacy as well.
Yeah.
Even when just chatting to people, you might say that I had a conversation with so-and-so, but they may not be famous on a worldwide scale, but they're still famous around this area in their league and in their own right. And how have you dealt with the pressure of having this trust of the players? And we've seen some comments on social media, and we've spoken about this when we've trained and things like that.
Yeah.
But then the pressure of the fans, because there's this kind of like that, the link between the fans want one thing, the players are trusting you with one thing. How have you dealt with that, being the leader to grow with that?
What a question. I find it so difficult because, I find it difficult, but also super empowering because, and I've always said this to the football club, we need to be making sure that the fans understand these players' personalities and who they are and what they're about and why they do what they do and what's their backstory. And so many football clubs out there, Norwich City have started to get good at it.
Yeah.
Because they lean on us for stuff and that works for them and it works for us. But most clubs suck at it. It's all just so soulless, and it's very easy to then just let players get trolled on social media and stuff, and they are just normal people. They really are, with lots of money. Yeah. But they are just lovely, down to earth, grounded people with sometimes incredible stories. Not stories of they're born into money and their dad gets them in the academy, or it doesn't work like that for most of them. So it's difficult because sometimes I see lots of hate, and I sort of want to say, well, are you aware of the fact that this player has been through that, or their dog's just passed away, or they're moving house at the moment, or their baby. There's so many things, but I think it just empowers me, Ollie, because I then say to the players and the club, I'm like, right, there's a problem here. So I'll give you an example. We actually spoke with Kenny McLean, who's obviously one of the Norwich City midfielders, Scottish international player. And last season, and to be fair, the season before, he very much became, I guess, a scapegoat or a whipping boy in the squad. And so I said to the club, look, this guy's getting so much unfair criticism. Like, criticism is okay.
Didn't you get like...
But when it gets personal,
yeah,
it's like, it's too far.
Yeah.
And so I said, look, we've got to tell his story and get him to speak openly and honestly. And after that, it more or less stopped. And I'm like, well, that's incredible. That's a really powerful
So you
thing.
saw that, then done the podcast with them?
Yeah.
That's powerful. So you're giving them a platform.
Like,
really.
I'm on a mission with it, Ollie, because I just think I've always taken the players' side, which is a very different stance to most. They're always like, lots of people are very, like, the club can do no wrong. And some of them are like, they believe everything the media say. But for me, I'm like, actually, no one's speaking on behalf of the players here. And so that's always been our angle and approach. And that's why they trust us, because we give them a space to open up. But I think at the same time, because I know the shit they're getting online, I politely prod them, and I want them to open up, and I want them to be vulnerable. And that's a message to your audience with your social content, right? I mean, you start to do it, Ollie, as well, like, you know, with the loss of your dad and stuff. Being vulnerable and open and telling your stories is so helpful in so many ways, and people shouldn't be afraid to do that, because the positives far outweigh the negatives.
Yeah, I think, like, knowing some of the player stories that we've spoken about that have been out there in the media, and I've got things wrong from what I've seen, and you're like, oh, it didn't happen like that, it didn't happen like that. It's powerful for that, and as you say, all the players are trusting them. Has there been any stick that you've got from social that has, like, well, you've had some stick. I mean, this is Norfolk, so I've had stick from being in Norfolk as well, and no doubt I'll probably get stick, because people are going to see this and then probably see me there and be like, you're not actually a Norwich fan. Well, I am a Norwich fan. So but what has been something that's jumped out that you've kind of had to just, like, bite your lip a little bit and not respond to, just to be the bigger person?
I really do flip it into, I know that you're a massive Gary Vaynerchuk fan as well, Ollie. Like, I just have a profound sense of empathy for people that spend their time wanting to drag other people down online. They're always going through stuff, and I've changed my approach recently, Ollie, with trolls and abuse. Well, not recently, actually. I've been doing it for about 3 years now. I go all in on empathy and kindness, kill them with kindness. I respond, unless it's really, really personal and abusive, I won't.
Yeah.
But if it's, you know, a bit nasty, a bit jarby, I'll respond, and I'll ask them a question, address them by their name, invite them for a DM or even a cup of coffee. And the amount of people, Ollie, that have said to me on DM, either there and then or a few months later, Chris, I'm so sorry, I'm going through a divorce. Chris, I've lost my job recently, I'm feeling stressed. And it's like, that is the truth.
Yeah.
That is the absolute truth. And so if anyone is ever getting any crap online, remember, it's because they're going through such a bad time.
It's not actually about you.
Just feel sorry for them, like, really. But Ollie, I've had so much, mate. I fell out of love with what I'd grown a career in, which is social media. I had to remind myself why I was doing it. I think you've got to be proactive with it. You can't just sit there and let it happen. You have to take control of your algorithm, your feeds. Like, who are you following? Who are you responding to? Who are you liking? Are you liking abusive things? Because all of that stuff impacts what you see.
You don't think about that stuff.
You don't think about it. And even, like, you might, you know, there's this whole, for example, there's the Be Kind movement, right?
Yeah.
Which, you know, this is a bit strong, but it's just my honest feelings on it. People are saying be kind when it comes to issues that they want people to be kind about. But when they see a celebrity that has done something wrong, they'll be like, they're an absolute disgrace, they're this, they're that, they're that. But so then you're feeding it. You're feeding the problem. And a lot of social media is so heavily reliant on a negative bias. That's the dangerous thing about it. So people must engage and put out positive stuff. Be the change you want to see. I've had so much, Ollie, like, I've had people say the most, like, horrific stuff. About, like, I remember when my dad had a heart attack, and I posted something about that, and I had a guy saying, oh, I bet you he wishes he'd finished his life now, or something like that, because of the disgrace that you are, or something like that. And by the way, like by disgrace, all I do on social media is I have a very passionate opinion about Norwich City.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about politics ever. Finance, I'm not selling anyone anything. All I do is talk about Norwich City.
Like, which is technically your expert area, social and Norwich.
And that is the horrific part of social media.
Staying in your lane.
That is the horrific part. And I have really struggled with it. Like, it's put me into some really dark places. And I'm so lucky that, you know, Becky, my wife, has been there for me forever. And I've been leaning on her. I feel so sorry for people that don't have a support network with social media. Then when it hits them, it's just another level of pain and challenge. So how would I round that all up? I've had so much, but I'm almost numb to it now. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong. I've got a receding hairline now, and that probably is one of the reasons why. Because I've taken so much crap, Ollie. But sadly, I'm used to it. It's every day on every platform. That is just what it is.
Has it ever bled over, like from Talk Norwich City to your Reeve social media? Do people?
Yeah, once, and it really affected.
That's probably
me.
the thing that would frustrate me the most.
It really affected me. There's a lot of bullies out there. There is, and social media is not an easy place. Like, is it very easy for, you know, me as the social guy to go, oh, go on social and do this and do that. You have to be aware of it and the impacts of it. I remember before I got involved in Talk Norwich City in the media side, I spoke to Paul McVeigh, who I think you'll know of as well, former Norwich player, scored at Man United, of course he did. And sorry, Ollie. And he said,
league lane at the moment.
And he's right. Quickly move on. And he said to me, "Chris, are you sure you want to do this? Because you're going to get a lot of abuse." And I was at the time young and naive, and I was like, "Oh no, it'd be fine." And it ain't fine. No. And sometimes social media isn't the right place for people that are going through. You know, if you're the type of person that's got mental health challenges and stuff like that, you know, be aware of it. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say social's the answer for everything and everyone. You have to be mentally equipped. That's why, you know, delving into the world of self-psychology and understanding the way your brain works and looking after your health, engaging with someone like you, Ollie, is so important before you get yourself out there on social media. Because no matter what you do, what you say with anyone, you're going to get stick at some stage. It's a fact.
We all judge. I think that's something we say, people say don't judge, but everyone judges, right? Like, without realising, it's just something we do when we first meet someone. I remember doing a talk at the Forum. Must have been a few years back now, way before any lockdowns and stuff. And the recording on the camera was an older, like, iPhone recording. It's quite blurry. And I was talking about disordered eating and having an eating disorder in the past, and how I was just obsessed and just like wanting to look a certain way and about getting in shape. And I remember one guy said, why would I listen to someone that's out of shape talking about getting me in shape? And it made me realise about those other connections you've made, because someone that I'd met at some entrepreneurs retreats, had him on my podcast, and such a great guy. This is a guy that, when we talk about how successful he is, he took GoPro from like, I think it was like 50,000 or 500,000 to like 500 million with his advertising campaigns. He's a director in Hollywood and like in a lot of their ad campaigns. And he just went in on this person. And I'm just like, you don't need to do that. You don't need to do that. But if that would have hit me a few years back, I would have got so frustrated. And I don't think people realise what people, as you said, about the players. Yeah. They have paid their money, their hard-earned money, to go to these games. But it doesn't give you a right to then, just because someone's getting paid a certain amount. Yeah. I remember there was a David Beckham documentary, the 7 games on 7 continents.
I've not seen that one.
Basically, literally 7 days, 7 games of football on 7 continents. Yeah. So literally having to fly into like Antarctica and places to play a game. But he went to, I think it was India or somewhere. Yeah. And again, got mobbed. Yeah. Couldn't go out for a coffee. And I think like, sometimes, like yesterday when we were going around the city, I saw like 4 or 5 people I knew in the space of like 2 hours. And my wife, Laura, just joked, oh, you're a celebrity around here. And I can't imagine what it would be like to just be looked. And people don't want to see that side of it, Ollie. No. They don't want to see that. They want to say, oh, they got their money, so it's fine. But having had private conversations and public conversations on our Talk Norwich City podcast about it, it's like, these players are getting abused in the street. Yeah. They were like walking down the street with their family and people are giving them abuse, and you can't trust anyone. Yeah. And people are taking pictures of you whilst you're eating out with your family saying, oh, look, he's here. Like, so you can't have a moment's break. And like, no matter how much money you earn, that's shit.
So have a bit of.
I mean, it's one thing in the terraces, which again, I like what people shout. I'm thinking, whoa! I know people are frustrated.
Yeah.
I was speaking to John Norman, who said about Soul Church, and he's the I can't remember, chaplain.
Yes,
at Norwich.
the
So
club
he's the
chaplain,
club chaplain, and he was saying about like the psychological aspect, and so people are letting their stresses out on the terrace. So it's one thing there, but then going over going down the street and doing it, it's almost like they've got a right to do it.
Honestly, it sounds like pretty drastic, but although it's been an incredible thing for me, if I could go backwards, I wouldn't have done it.
Really?
It's been that bad for me. And I've now got to a point where I'm now on top of it, and it's great. Good. But if I could go backwards, I would have started a social media marketing podcast and just built that for years and years and years.
Yeah.
That's what I would have done. But yeah, don't let it put you off, obviously. But
well, talking about stress, what would you say are the things that help you remain healthy to run your business and for your family?
The key cornerstone for me is going to the gym.
Yeah.
And going to the gym consistently. I go 3 times a week. I go currently Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, which you might tell me off for. And I like to wake up early to do that. I try my best to eat healthily, but the thing about health for me, Ollie, is that I see a lot of people going on, fad diets and stuff, and then they relapse hard. And for me, I've just always had this thing of I eat clean during the week, and then I eat whatever I want at the weekend, which might not sit well with you.
This is your question.
I think for me, that's always been the key for me to maintain my physique, but at the same time, not hard relapse or anything like that. So I think definitely going to the gym. I think the way that I've viewed health, obviously given our conversation so far, has actually been more about my mental health. And for me, it's actually almost like if you look after your mental health first, your physical health becomes a lot easier, in my opinion. But actually, I think they're both probably in tandem together as well, right? Because if you go to the gym or you go for a run, that helps your mental health. But at the same time, if your mental health is in a hole, it is tough to get there, right? So I can see both sides of the street. But I think for me, just gym. I've just been to the gym forever, and I'm so grateful that I enjoy it, because so many people, they don't like it, and it's not everyone's territory. It can be quite a daunting place to go to, particularly for females, to be blunt. I think that in my observations, they are quite worried about going to a gym full of steroid taking big beer belly blokes that are going to shout get off and all that stuff.
I absolutely hate that people think that.
Yeah, but it is a stigma, isn't it? And people aren't lucky enough to come across like people like you all the time, Ollie, that helps people around all of that world. But yeah, so I think for me, gym. It's got to be done. Yeah,
and I would say as well, one of the things with the mental and physical health is something that when your mental health is off, it makes it harder to go to the gym, but you feel better with it. But not only that, we then crave other things food-wise. So then the emotional eating comes into play, right?
Yes,
so then we eat rubbish. We may drink alcohol or whatever it is to give us this little hit with dopamine, which makes it again harder. So it's this vicious circle. And at some point we have to just snap out of it if we want to change, right? And seek discomfort for a session or two while we then move forward. On that note, actually, are there any places you actively seek discomfort in order to grow, apart from the gym?
I shouldn't say the word try. I'm trying to get out of the word of using try. My business coach, Oliver Hill, says to me, "Don't use try." From Hill Coaching, I know that you're big on Oliver Hill.
I've done some good podcasts.
Yeah, top man. And he says, "Don't use try." So what I'm doing at the moment, I'm committing to doing more public speaking. Yep. That for me is, every time I do it, afterwards I get the biggest buzz every single time. But before I do it, I'm absolutely cacking myself. Like, I'm so worried. I'm probably sweating profusely. But as soon as I start, literally from the first word, I'm off, and I love it. And it unlocks so many cool opportunities, and you obviously have the opportunity to speak to so many people at once, right? So that's probably the one I would say where I'd seek discomfort the most. I also I'd maybe link my passion for travel with that. Like I don't, and this is, no offense intended, I don't just go to Mallorca and that's the only place I go to. Like I like to broaden my horizons. So, going to some sort of weird, obscure places in the world, seeing the different culture, trying different foods. I think that's seeking discomfort as well. And that's given me a really well-rounded, I guess, view of the world. And again, just how lucky we've got it here. So the big thing for me, a big key moment in my life was probably the biggest seeking discomfort was I went to Zambia. Have I actually told you this ever? I don't know if I told you this.
I was about to ask you where's one place.
I went to Zambia when I was quite young, probably 18, I think, maybe.
Yeah.
And I helped out at a local orphanage and a school. And going there is just another world, landing into Lusaka. We get told you shouldn't be out at night, and within 10 minutes of leaving the airport, the Jeep breaks down at night in this field in the middle of Lusaka. We stay in a nunnery with barbed wire around the fences. We're walking to school there and back every day. They believe in witchcraft over there, so I'm engaging with lots of kids that are burns victims, victims of the most horrific abuse and things like that. Wow. And so exposing myself to that really was like a game changer for me in terms of just truly understanding how lucky we are here. That's why I posted this on my Threads account the other day. I said it's easy to be energized and motivated when you've got a true sense of perspective. And so many people in this region, for sure, but in England, full stop, have such a lack of perspective that they don't realise how lucky they've got it. And I think genuinely, if you really hunt perspective in your life, I'm getting preachy now. When you hunt perspective in your life, I think it can motivate you to do whatever you want. And so again, if you're not feeling particularly motivated, this is sort of linked to that health point. If you're not feeling motivated to go to the gym, well, why is that? Is that because you're lacking a purpose in your life? Are you lacking a why? There's got to be a reason.
I think we do need a purpose.
For sure.
How are you going to move forward? Like, I'm happy to have found mine. You've found yours with people getting their story out. That I feel it's so much at ease. Yeah. And people were talking like, I'm going on holiday next week. We was just saying about switching off. Like, you'll switch off from certain things, but your mind is still going to write stuff, not necessarily to post it up. Or you to post for me. So
you're cheating.
Yeah, exactly. But you write stuff because you then want to get it out there, and it gives us a little bit of time to recharge. And if you truly love what you do, and that's linked with your purpose, that you kind of recharge naturally anyway. Yes. So
you don't even necessarily need to switch on or switch off because it is just your thing, right?
Yeah.
I've seen more LinkedIn posts about this than ever before, actually. People like working on holiday and stuff. People are like, why are you working on holiday? It's like, because I love what I do. Yeah. And as long as you're not getting burnt out, which I know that you're so knowledgeable of, and I definitely advise people speak to you about that, because you've taught me some things about that have really made me realise why I got burnt out at the beginning of this year. And I think as long as you're not getting burnt out, that's okay. Have a bit of healthy balance there.
Yeah, I think it's definitely puts things into perspective. That when you see other people as well. So there's a couple of times we went on our honeymoon to Cape Verde, and it's essentially a third world country. Yeah. But I wasn't in a good mindset then.
Yeah.
I was stressed out, really stressed out. I would appreciate that so much more given the work I've done on my mindset now and the perspective that we went to. I was in Colombia last year, and I was lucky enough to speak over there, and we went traveling through to then trek down to whitewater raft and camp in the rainforest.
Amazing.
Literally in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
But you saw some people literally living in a hut, and you think, it's like sometimes you think this house isn't big enough or something like that. Like, we're in a big, essentially a second bedroom here.
Yeah.
For an office. I've got a view of however many hundreds of years of cathedral and castle out there, and sometimes we think we've got it hard up.
And people are moaning that they've not got 100 followers on social media. Do you see why I hate that so much now?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything.
Where's the perspective with it? But you see these people and they're truly just loving life. Yeah. Have you seen the Kindness Diaries?
I haven't, no.
Definitely should watch that.
Okay, fine.
Guy,
check it out.
Leon Logothetis. It's on Netflix now, I believe. There's Kindness Diaries 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he's a Liverpool fan.
Oh,
so there are some drawbacks. But he goes around the world based on the kindness of others.
Yeah.
He has his motorbike and sidecar.
Yeah.
And even the fuel he has to have someone pay for.
Wow.
He can't take cash.
Cool.
He can take kindness.
Nice.
And he goes around the world and has stories and sees people that he goes to India and there's a family and they're expecting another child and they've got nothing, but it's customary for the guests to have the one bed. So that the pregnant woman sleeps on the floor and he's feeling so bad about it. And like he gives back, and I think he actually got them a house, or I think he was in Philippines, and some like woman that basically helps out the whole village and hasn't really got a house after losing her husband.
Yeah.
He gets her a house and like pays for stuff for schools. But actually, I was with a client in 2017. It came up on memories the other day, and I knew that Leon he's British, but he lives in Santa Monica. Right. I was with a client in LA, and I was then going to, like, as you do, Muscle Beach, you have to do that sort of thing. Of course, yeah. And walk down there. So I messaged him and I said, look, you've inspired me a lot. I'm looking about perspective.
Yeah.
Love to grab you lunch. And this is actually a good thing with social media, actually. And he said, yeah, love to. Absolutely love to. So we go, and like, he's never met me before.
Yeah.
I've only had one message on social media. Yeah. Meets up and we grab lunch. And this is 2017. I said, I want to impact 1 million people. Yeah. And he said, just think about it. At that time, I think there was like 30,000 followers on Twitter or whatever. And then I decided to stop posting on Twitter, which was probably a stupid thing to do when I had the most followers on there. If only there was someone on social media back then to tell me not to. But he said, you probably already impacted 1 million people. Yeah. If you think about talks and stuff you've done, the actual like snowball effect of that. And I think it goes for a positive way, but also negative on social as well, that we're then impacting someone. Like, say someone says something negative to you and you still get frustrated about it. You then go home to your wife and then she gets frustrated because you're frustrated, and then she goes to her job and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. How many people we impact people on a positive way, but on a negative way as well. So sure. On that note, actually, you said about public speaking. Have you got any public speaking coming up?
I've got one local networking event in October. I'm going to commit to doing more as well. I've done a few in like halls and stuff before, and a lot of online ones, which I find like maybe a little bit less scary, even though there's so many more people. Which sounds weird, right? Because on Talk Norwich City, we're broadcasting to maybe upwards of, when we go live, there could be between 4,000 and 8,000 people watching simultaneously.
That's a daunting
exactly, but that doesn't matter. But then speaking in real life in front of 50 people, I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna die. Yeah. So yeah, no, I've only got one booked at the moment, but I would like to book more. It's
just something that I'm asking every guest. Yeah. Just to wrap things up, that what's something that you're actively working on improving?
Lots, thanks to you. Genuinely mean that.
Appreciate it.
You have really woken me up to corners of my health that I probably, maybe I realised were there, tops, but I didn't truly understand the impact of it. So big thing for me with social media is the amount of screen time I've got. So having some digital downtime is really important to me. I mean, even just little things like I would struggle to go to sleep at night. I think your analogy, Ollie, which I thought was absolutely superb, is I'd go to bed, I'm on my phone because I'm getting notifications from clients and talking and ping, 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 ping. It just keeps going. So hard to put it down when you're getting more and more and more. Like, these social platforms are built with the user experience of gambling sites, right? And like that for a reason, to hook you in and to keep you on it, particularly TikTok, which is one of the most addictive. Anyway, my point is, I've said to you, I want to sleep better because I'm not sleeping enough. And your analogy was, you're going to bed at 100 miles an hour, Chris. You start to slow down sooner. So, just tiny little things like turning the brightness down on my phone, setting it. You can set it on your iPhone now to go darker sooner. Not eating beyond, hang on, I'm going to test my knowledge here. I think you said 8.
It depends what time you go to sleep.
Okay, I'm going to sleep at 10.
So 7, 8-ish, yeah.
Okay, so I knew it was 7 or 8.
Yeah, we have that 3, 2, 1
I'll have half
rule.
a mark on that. I'll have a half a mark on that. So yeah, not eating later because you don't need to. And I think your thing is, that you said to me, which was again another impactful thing, is if you're on the sofa at night and you're watching TV and you want to eat, it's probably because you're tired and your body is making the decision of either, correct me if I'm wrong, am I doing well so far?
You're doing well,
good.
yeah.
Maybe I could join the business.
Yeah.
Franchisee.
I do my social media.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's rubbing off. You either need to eat something to stay awake to keep you fueled, or you need to go to sleep. And actually, you just need to go to sleep. And so I have a much more positive relationship with sleep now, but I want to improve that. So I think I'm working my sleep, I'm working my digital downtime for sure. And I think I just have a much more open, thanks to you, I'm having a much more open mind with my health. So I'm trying different maybe supplements and things like, magnesium, for example, is something that you recommended to help with sort of slowing me down before I went to sleep. And just having a much more open mind to it. I think people are so stubborn with their health because they just do what they've always done, and people are so scared of saying, actually, no, I'm not going to do that. Even actually something that I've been exposed to more than ever before, thanks to a friend of mine, Simon Thomas, who people know does various different broadcasting bits. He talks about sobriety a lot and going sober and the impact that's had on him. And so what I've been doing...
doing a talk at Soul Church soon, actually.
Well,
I'll tell you when it is.
You'll enjoy it very much.
Yep.
I'm a almost, not quite there yet, almost 30-year-old guy. And so, more or less, if it's not every weekend, it's every other weekend. I'm in a social situation where people are drinking, and, I don't have to drink every time. And I know that the week after I drink, I start to get a bit like anxious about things, or I don't sleep well, or I don't eat the right thing. So it's like, actually, I'm trying to actually every now and then say, actually, do you know what? I'm just not going to drink alcohol tonight. I don't need to.
Do you feel you miss it when you do?
No, I don't. I've always been quite good, to be fair, so it's not been that difficult for me, I have to admit. I've never been big on booze. But, rather than a night where you'd go to the pub and have a couple of pints, or you'd go to a friend's house and have a couple of beers in the back garden, I'm saying, actually, yeah, I'm just not drinking tonight. And I'm lucky that I've got friends that are like, cool, nice, I like that.
Yeah.
And so those are the things that I'm working on. But I've got a lot. I think it's a continuous learning thing. And that is why, in a non-cringy way, it's so important for people to speak to people like you, Ollie, because you never know it all. I mean, I'm sure you would even admit you don't know it all. You're still constantly learning,
learning.
And new research and data comes out all the time to, that gives us the opportunity to understand our bodies more. And so, yeah, I'm just grateful I'm able to consume your content all day, every day.
Appreciate it. So how can people get in touch with you if they're looking for some help with social media?
LinkedIn is my number one.
Know.
Yeah, LinkedIn's my number one. So Chris, REEVE, is how you spell my surname. Don't put an S on the end of it, please. It annoys me. Chris Reeve on LinkedIn. ReeveSocialMedia.co.uk is my website. Email. Honestly, I'm up for any form. I'm on every single social media. As you'd expect, I'm on every single form of social media. But business is LinkedIn for me.
Cool. Well,
cheers, Ollie.
Much appreciate your
help,
time,
mate.
and hope you guys have got something from it. Take care.